welcome to Canceled. We are back once again at the beautiful Permanent Record Studios. We did it. Avery Moore, we did it. We made it
finished
through 6 episodes of Q.E.D. When I came to pick you up today, and we'll get to it in a second, when I came to pick you up today, you opened the door and said, LOL at the show just getting good. And I can't believe you said that because I hated these episodes so much.
I'm much goofier than you.
I'm also goofy. I like goofy, but god damn it, were these boring.
I'm goofy.
Yo, you are very goofy.
I thought it was. I was on the edge of my seat.
We were at a restaurant. Me and my girl were at a restaurant this weekend, and across the room from us, I looked over and I said, "Oh my god, that lady looks like a not fun Avery Moore." And there was just you if you were wearing like a North Face vest and a plain baseball cap, like a no logo. Just like I was like, oh, what a bummer to be not cool Avery Moore.
Yeah, but it was an $80 hat.
Oh yeah,
just
for
plain.
For sure.
Yeah, at the bar we call that we call those Patagonia nights. One of those people. It's gonna be a real Patagonia night.
How's things otherwise? How's the finger healing up?
Finger's healing up pretty well. I'm trying not to. I was really sick and tired of wearing that brace, so I only wear it when I go to work now. Because I want to bend my finger.
Reasonable.
Yeah, but it's getting there. It looks like it now. It just looks like my finger got like a little. It joined the army and got a little flat top.
Yeah. Got a little high and tight on that thing.
Yeah.
Perfect.
My finger betrayed me.
By joining the military? Yeah, for sure. Also, I would like to add, that's another reason why I hate this show. Q.E.D. is a terrible boss, and everything is, like, classist and terrible at all times on this show. We might as well just fucking dig into it. Episode 5 is something about, it's like To Catch a Ghost or something is the name of the episode. And there's going to be a ghost, but surprise, surprise, there's not a fucking ghost.
It's not real.
Of course it's not real. As soon as they said they were going to have to find a ghost, I was like, oh, this is just going to be a Scooby-Doo episode.
Yeah.
And it 100% is just a Scooby-Doo episode. There's a lady dressed up like a ghost and secret passages.
Yeah.
So what did you like about this episode?
I loved because I like that it's set in this period, but it was like in an actual like manner,
sure.
Not just in Q.E.D's nice apartment. And it was like Downton Abbey with ghosts.
There's some Downton Abbey qualities. I also thought what got me excited for the episode is it opens with them doing some dumb experiment on a piece of photography that's going to take a picture of his coronal discharge. It's like taking your aura essentially, right?
Yeah.
And but it's an old timey camera, so you got to stay perfectly still for like an hour or whatever. And then, Jenny opens the door by accident and ruins everything. And Q.E.D's immediately just a dickhead, of course. And then she's like, I'll have you know that do not disturb signs don't work well if you leave them on the inside of the door. And I was like, I mean, yeah, good. Fuck you, Q.E.D. Why are you yelling at this girl? How about this? Lock your goddamn doors.
Lock the door.
Dickhead. It made me so mad. But what I got excited for was I was like, oh, this. So she was like, I have to leave. I got to go visit my aunt.
Yeah.
I'm catching the 2:00 train. And then she kind of goes by herself, and I was like, oh, this is going to be like a Jenny-centric episode, right? And it was, but it wasn't enough. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, she doesn't.
Just her walking around the hallways looking scared.
Yeah, she doesn't end up solving the thing. I was hoping this is going to be the episode where
Q.E.D. still does everything.
Exactly. So that's why I was like, oh, well, that's a bummer. I thought she's going to have some shit to do. And no, all she does is believe in ghosts.
For just a minute.
For longer than you would think.
Yeah.
She grows, but she talks about how, so basically she has to go to her aunt, and her aunt raised her after her parents died on this manor.
Dad died in South Africa.
I did catch that. I'm assuming he was doing something terrible.
Awful.
There. Yeah, of course. He was inventing apartheid. That's what he was doing. So she's gonna go because the aunt is sick, and she goes. There's a girl there who's like her cousin or something. Who's been living on the estate with her husband, and they were tight as kids, and now she's come back to check on the aunt or whatever.
Yeah,
right?
But she's set to inherit everything, right?
Right. That comes up a little bit later,
yeah.
But the aunt says, look, they tell you at this age you're supposed to update your will once a year, so just to show you'll get the land and the house and everything and the estate, and then if you don't have any kids, it's going to revert, it'll go to them after you pass or whatever.
Yeah.
Because I guess she was saying that like it would have went to her dad.
Yeah.
But the dad died.
Yeah.
So it should go to her. Right.
Yeah.
But also the cousin is saying how like, oh, the ghost is back. Aunt whoever whatever. So there's Aunt Effie is the actual
she's the
woman
matriarch
right.
kind of, yeah.
And then
she's really ill.
She's sick,
and the cousin's been taking care of her.
But also they talk about how she's really ill.
She's walking around. Having dinner and shit.
She has a slight cough.
Yeah.
That's it. She like every once in a while goes like that's a whole that's eye sickness. And she also has like shitty, like I don't know. She was fine. Like, there's certain things I was like, oh, she's like a badass lady. She like runs the house, whatever. But also, then she's like a classist bitch. At one point, she goes like, I think every family has a ghost. Any family of standing, anyway. I was like, oh, fuck you. Poor people can get haunted. I would say more often than not.
Yeah.
Hey, poor people die with unfinished business. They got bills to pay. Yeah, so I literally wrote down there's a ghost. This is going to be some Scooby-Doo bullshit. There was one other moment I want to go back to the beginning before she gets to the house. After she like fucks up the experiment or whatever, and then tells Q.E.D. she's leaving. He's all flustered or whatever. And she says, Mr. Devereaux, the sugar in your tea. And he's like putting sugar in his tea. And she's like, you don't take sugar in your tea. And he goes, and I'm like,
what?
That's the joke that he accident. It felt like somebody was yelling that from off camera as like a continuity mistake, and they just left it in the episode. Like it felt like they're like, "Oh no, you've never put sugar in your tea before. Don't do that." And then they just left it in the episode.
I didn't even notice that.
It was so weird. Can we talk about the ghost for a second?
Yeah. I maybe I'd like blinked and it passed over. How did they projected it?
No. Well, so what they explained it at the very end after they've caught her and everything. Yeah. So there's a secret tunnel that goes from the church to like this outbuilding. So all right, so Jenny,
there's a chapel
Jenny wakes
on
up.
premises.
At one point, Jenny keeps waking up at night, and you hear the ghost going,
Jenny,
follow me, Jenny. And Jenny the first night, Jenny follows the ghost, and all of a sudden, the ghost is in this like church that's out like an outbuilding. So she goes out there and
the tower, and then she disappears.
She disappears, but a rock is pushed off the top of the tower and almost kills Jenny. That's when she writes to Q.E.D. and says, hey, you got to come.
Yeah.
We have a ghost.
Something tried to kill
me. A ghost is trying to murder me. Also, how fast is this mail? She took a train to get wherever she's going, and that letter gets there like the next morning. Like, we don't get mail that fast.
Well, remember in the beginning of the episode, the mailman comes and the guy's like, Phipps is like, I could set my watch to you, Martin. And then the mailman rides away like in the most inefficient way, like he's like an extra that doesn't know how to ride a bike, but he's supposed to be a bike riding mailman.
He put it on
because he was like, whoa.
He for sure put on his resume that he can ride a bicycle, and then
couldn't,
he absolutely
especially
couldn't.
in gravel.
Yeah, for sure. So what we find out is there's a secret tunnel for like a secret passage for like behind a painting,
like the servants
the servants use, but it goes from the main house to this church, and the maids use it to sneak out at night. Because the head like who I don't know, the butler
it's
or whatever.
Like a service tunnel so that they don't have to be seen by the rich people
from
back in the day. But now they just use it to go
party because the guy who's in charge of the staff, he's like the head butler or whatever.
He sucks.
Doesn't let them leave at night.
Yeah,
what the fuck are you talking about? I'm gonna leave.
He's really abusive to the.
Yeah,
to the maid.
He's also shitty. At one point, he says like they're talking about how so they're ask Phipps like, what's your are you a butler or are you a gentleman?
Kind of a jack of all trades.
Yeah, and he kind of does a little bit of everything, and he says how, like, sometimes Jenny helps me with the food or whatever. He's like, you could say we have a modern household. And I was like, I don't know that you can. But,
and then he goes, modern household and modern women. Yeah. It's going to be the end of all of us.
He does.
And then Phipps says, well, some of us.
Yeah. I like Phipps. But that guy is like just like a weird, and first, I will say this about this episode. It's the first one that I didn't have solved immediately.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't still kind of up for who's doing this.
I think after the first time the ghost came when Q.E.D. was there, I knew it was that girl.
Okay. I didn't. For a second, I thought it was, at one point, I
thought it was the girl or her husband.
So I thought it was the husband for a minute. There was clearly a girl involved just because there's a female voice for this ghost. And then for a second, I thought it was I briefly thought it was the head butler guy.
Yeah.
Because the old lady tells her, like, once you inherit this place, you can modernize whatever you want. And I was like, oh, he ate to modernize. Maybe he's trying to, like, keep things the way they are. There's also a thing that I kind of felt got, like, dropped, is the old lady says, like, or he says no good has come to any whatever their last name is. Martin, who has left the manor.
Yeah.
Because apparently when you leave, you die. So, like... her father died in South Africa, other men, whatever. And the ghost always shows up when someone's is about to die.
Yeah.
And they all think it's her because she's old or whatever, right? So I was like, oh, there's going to be some interesting thing where, like, someone has been killing these people all along.
I thought that
in
for
an
a
effort
second,
to
too.
keep the thing in the family or something. But no, that shit just goes away.
Yeah.
There's nothing.
Yeah.
I wrote down, goddamn, the story's boring a lot of times. Here's the main problem with this show. There is like a 30-minute episode in each one of these hour-long episodes.
Yeah.
Everything just takes so goddamn long.
The amount of times that they did this same sequence with the ghost. It happened like six times.
It happened at least 4 or 5 times where Jenny wakes up.
She walks out. She looks out the door. The ghost is at the end of the stairs. Then it's up at the top of the stairs. Then it's outside of the tower.
Right.
And it happens every single time. But, like, just cut. Just let it, Jenny, and then cut to the tower.
Yeah, we get it. We know what's happening here, right?
It happened 5 times before.
She calls Q.E.D. So Q.E.D. and Phipps show up, right? And they tell Charlie to stay behind. Because for whatever reason, no one respects Charlie, even though he's proven himself to be quite capable multiple times.
Yeah.
They show up and he's under the guise that he wants to do some research on the oldest bridge, the oldest iron bridge in England is nearby or whatever.
Oh, this is the best line. He was like, and did you know that in that age they used iron as if it was wood? And the lady of the house is like, no, I didn't know that, and I don't really care.
Yeah, I wrote it down because it's so good. I wrote it down because it just her phrasing. Really
Yeah, she's just like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, when they built the cast iron, they used it as if it were wood, and he said, she goes, I don't know that I did know that, and I don't know that I care. It's just so, and then she just turns her head and talks to somebody else. It was fucking great.
It made me laugh.
I thoroughly enjoyed that. The other thing that's going on is Q.E.D. has invented grocery store doors, essentially.
Yeah, he's got automatic doors.
Yeah, he's invented a thing where you walk through a beam, like a light beam,
it triggers
the door to open and close, right? But when Phipps walks to the door, it opens automatically. He's like, oh, that was weird. And then he walks in and he closes it, and he immediately turns into like Shaggy.
Go.
It's so like immediate. And I'm like,
Professor.
But my other problem is, Phipps, you're smarter than this. You work in this house. You know he's inventing things all the time.
It's his little lab too.
Yeah, for sure.
He went
the
into
door
his
to the
library lab.
For sure. But that annoyed me. I guess it was kind of to set up how scared he is of ghosts.
Yeah.
Because when they do go to the house to look for the ghost, and then Charlie eventually shows up saying he's writing a story about the oldest bridge in town or whatever.
Which,
just super
dummies.
But
do you think they didn't really explain why they both said that? Do you think they both just looked up geographical features of the area and they picked that's the only interesting thing?
That's kind of what I do think is what we're supposed to believe.
Or maybe that was in the script and they just cut it out. There's so many things where it's like it's connected. Like they both are talking about the bridge and that's their alibi or that's their cover.
Excuse for coming, yeah.
But it's never addressed that they both say the same thing and that everyone at the dinner table's like, what?
Yeah. No, like I agree.
I feel like they cut a scene
out where they looked up something or whatever.
Yeah.
For sure, absolutely. And that happens a fair amount.
Yeah, it happens all the time.
So they show up and they're going to try to see the ghost, right?
Yeah.
And they do. They stuck in. The ghost shows up again.
The best is Q.E.D.'s face when he first sees the ghost because he kind of almost believes it, and he goes like,
yeah, he freaks out a little bit when it comes to commercial. Phipps has a full-on.
Can we talk about the door real fast?
Sure.
The automatic door real fast.
Yeah.
He says that the reason he built it is for efficiency.
It's to save time
and not for to help people.
No.
with disabilities.
Absolutely not. Couldn't care.
Or help what automatic doors are actually for.
Yeah.
He says that they're for efficiency. He says he's going to put it on the pantry.
He's going to put it on the pantry. And the other thing, the moment I did like is that they always do kind of write Phipps as like a a working class kind of a, like supporter, leftist kind of shit, because he's like, oh great, another invention that's going to take jobs away from the servant class or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, efficiency is the dumbest reason to open one of those.
Yeah.
And then what they
why would you even write that?
And then so Phipps does a thing in that moment where he like cuts the beam and the door opens.
Yeah.
And then they have a little conversation and he goes to leave, and when he walks through the beam, the door closes on him, and then he has to step back and like step over the beam, and he's like, efficiency. And, so he has a panic. So they see the ghost. Phipps freaks out. He knocks over like a suit of armor, and then he knocks over a suit of armor. Q.E.D. falls down the stairs for some reason,
and then they're
all just in a pile on top.
Yeah,
of
it looks
each other.
like they're like scrap. Like it looks like when like in the cartoon when like the dogs are fighting, there's just a cloud of dust.
Yeah, a bunch of ampersand flying around. Yeah. And they're like rolling around with the suit of armor and shit, and then the husband of the cousin wakes up and he's like, I think you all should leave. And I'm like, yeah, probably should.
Yeah.
They're being very loud in the middle of the night in this dying woman's house. But they leave, they're like, yes, we should leave, absolutely. But he leaves so he can go back, get his camera that takes pictures of invisible energy
of like electric
in the dark.
field.
So it'll work in the dark, and he's gonna get his I-beam automator thing to automate taking the picture so they can get a picture of the ghost. Which they do, because there's another fucking shot of the ghost showing up and walking around. The whole sequence again. And that's when Charlie is hiding in case she shows up in the church. She's hiding in the church, which is when he finds out that there's the maid.
He catches the maid.
He catches the maid from partying. So they do.
And then that maid's cool. She's like, cool. It'll just be all a little secret. And there's just a man she met yesterday hiding in the church. She just goes back inside.
Doesn't give a fuck.
Well, all right, see you later.
So they go back a third night to catch to figure out what's going on. They catch a president. Yes.
I didn't know the ghost was 13.
Yeah. Jenny does look young. By the way, Jenny has had a solid career after this. She's like consistently worked. Like if you look at her IMDb, it's a lot of like it's British, like 4 episodes of Hollyoaks, 6 episodes of Midsummer Murders. Like she's like in all this stuff. I'm like, good for her.
All right.
Meanwhile, Charlie does not have a photo on his IMDb page. But I will say this, Dr. Stephen Kilkiss.
Well, maybe he chose a different path and got it all taken down.
Yeah.
Sometimes people like become like lawyers or doctors or something.
Yeah, they don't want that shit.
Yeah, I'm just going to pay to get my page taken down.
For sure. I will say that Dr. Stephen Kilkiss has probably had the most successful career.
That guy's
outside of maybe Sam Waterston, obviously. But
that
like,
guy's really recognizable.
5 seasons of Game of Thrones. Like, he's fucking in stuff. But anyway, so
Sorry.
I've been falling asleep all fucking morning. That's what waking up.
I had 2 cups of coffee, but also smoked 2 bowls. You know,
sure,
eye for an eye.
So they go back. They follow the ghost. They go through the fucking secret tunnel, whatever. They catch the ghost, and it's the cousin.
Yeah.
And I will say this is my favorite moment.
Didn't she have black hair?
She has black hair, but she's blonded. Like I think she put like a wig or something on or dyed it for like ghost purposes. For ghost purposes,
to look like the ghost.
I don't.
But the ghost in the picture
has blonde hair for sure, 100%.
The wig threw me off. And it took me a minute. I did like a what? And I was like, wait, why is she blonde now?
It for sure took me a second too. So they catch the ghost. They find out it's her, and she's. I will say maybe I think that's my favorite performance and moment in this episode is her like going like, you know, what do you mean? Why did I do this? She's always was the favorite.
Got the better presents.
The best toys at Christmas, and now she's gonna get all this, you know, everything. And I've lived here, and I stayed, and she didn't, so I should get it. And I was like, oh, that's pretty reasonable.
Yeah.
I mean, don't try. And she tries to drop
I hate her, and that's why I killed her, and I hope she burns in hell.
She has a full breakdown, and it's like very campy and great. I really enjoyed it. Turns out she didn't actually. She thought she dropped the shot at the leader on her, but she's still alive. And
I love when they like the camera like swoops and cuts to just like her hand and a knife cutting a rope, and there's like a spotlight on it for some reason.
Yeah, I don't know where that light came from because like Q.E.D. has a flashlight, but it wouldn't make sense for him to help her cut that rope. they do all that, and we find out she's going to go to a home because she's had this breakdown, and she'll be there for a long time or whatever. But she doesn't go to jail. She just goes to get some help.
It's hysteria.
Well,
then Q.E.D. says that to Ginny earlier in the episode. He's like, and I've never known you to experience any hysteria.
Right.
So I was like, shut the fuck up.
Well, it was also, he has the weirdest line at the end of this episode, but we'll get to it in 1 second. Because the reveal for the ghost, the projection or whatever we talked about earlier, is he says in this moment, he goes, it was quite simple actually. All she did was go to the tunnel and step behind a transparent film. And then she slowly turned up the lantern she was carrying, and it gave her a very ghostly appearance. But I don't understand how that puts her in the hallway.
Yeah.
Green. It does doesn't, the explanation doesn't make any fucking sense. It doesn't make any sense. Yeah. But then he says, too bad she had to end up to be a real woman. And then it cuts the credits. That's how the fucking show ends. And I was like,
wait, Q.E.D. wanted it to be a ghost?
Q.E.D., you want to fuck a ghost? Yeah. I think Q.E.D. wants to fuck a ghost. I feel like he had, how he will constantly have some moment of futurism where it'll be like, oh, I've come up with this idea, and it'll be a reference to some shit we know or whatever. I feel like maybe he was trying to he was like, I'm trying to work in that scene from Ghostbusters where Dan Aykroyd gets dick sucked by that ghost. It's just Q.E.D. knows about that somehow. Magic. I'm trying to think, was there anything else? Because, so that's, and I didn't mind the idea of the ghost. I thought that was kind of fun.
I thought it was really silly that they chose to do a ghost story.
For sure.
In this show. I was like, wait, this is and that it wasn't there wasn't some elaborate, operation going on, not operation, elaborate, the hoax of the ghost.
Right.
Has she been doing that all along?
Since they were kids? Or the whole family talks about how they've seen ghosts back when the father died and all that stuff. So,
when was the ghost around then?
I
thought it was going to be a projector or something.
Something that would have made he's working on a camera of some sort, right?
Yeah.
Then there's another thing where someone's figuring out a projector or something would have made sense.
Yeah.
Nope, not the case.
It's just a gobo or some shit, some sort of light trick.
The other thing that they say, the other kind of thing that is referenced a lot in this episode is that the old lady is telling Jenny that she loves Q.E.D., that Jenny's in love with Q.E.D., right? And she keeps bringing you have to go help your old doctor or whatever, right? But then also she says and Jenny's like, oh no, it can't be or whatever. But Aunt Effie at one point says the women in this family have always had a streak of willfulness. And I was like, yeah, good. Isn't that, you should be
proud of that.
Yeah, particularly because you are that. You're this matriarchal character that runs this massive estate or whatever.
Yeah.
It felt weird. The other thing that felt weird is Jenny, for some reason, she basically tells Aunt Effie Q.E.D. needs my help. He's kind of doddering and old or whatever.
Yeah.
So when he shows up,
and he's young and handsome.
But also, see, that's what was weird, right? Because she shows up, and the aunt tells to help, look, make sure you go help him. He's going to be exhausted from this long ride. He's this old man or whatever. He shows up, this young, capable man. The butler still carries him inside, and I was like, oh, that could be a funny gag if they keep it up, or everyone's trying to help him constantly because they this is miscommunication. No, they immediately
goes,
forget
I think I can manage.
Yeah, and that's it.
It's over.
It's just done immediately.
Yeah, I thought that was weird. He grabs his arm and leads him inside.
He's like, oh, don't try to just lean on me. I'll get you in or whatever he says, which was super weird. Yeah, that's basically this whole episode.
Yeah. I guess it wasn't good. I guess I was just really stoned.
That could be it. Which brings us to episode 6, which is
the final episode,
the last episode. And as soon as I saw a Chinese person, I was like, "Ooh, here comes the racism."
Yep. And also, I love you can tell by this episode that they did not know they were going to get canceled.
No.
This was yo.
Yeah, you're done.
Close up shop.
Yeah.
This fucking sucks.
Yeah, for sure.
You're on fire.
There's no sort of
no.
Kill Kiss doesn't show up again. There's just nothing. They clearly were just you're out. And what's funny is IMDb lists this as a miniseries, and nah, nigga. You tried. You thought this was a series. You just got canceled. So this episode's fucking wild to me, by the way. So it opens up, the cops finding a dead body, this dead Chinese guy, and Charlie is there.
Can I tell you, I immediately went, opium.
Yeah, of course. Absolutely. Particularly because of how racist the music is.
Yeah, it was like bing, 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 bing.
They take the fucking Q.E.D. music and they do it with like Chinese.
I know.
It's like there's this half a season of Sons of Anarchy where they go to Ireland and they like flogging Molly up the theme music, and it's that but very racist.
But Chinese.
So Charlie is there trying to do a report, and he mentions how like this is not the first death, and the police are like
27.
Well, they say that later. It takes them a second to get to 27, but Charlie's going like and the police are saying, oh, it's just natural, natural causes or whatever. This is a poor dead man who had nothing, and nobody knows him, and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And then when we find out it's 27 have died in the last month.
Yeah.
You know how many fucking human beings that is?
Yeah.
It's a wild
and in literally in the same neighborhood and of all the same nationality.
Yeah, it's on the same steps.
And they all work at the same places.
It's wild. And the show does not give that number any gravitas.
Yeah.
They throw that number out very willy-nilly.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be like the last 6 months.
Oh, I thought it was going to be 6 people. Like, I know even 6 is a lot.
27 people in 1 month.
It's wild. It's one a day.
It's a spree.
It's like there would be it would be on every newspaper, even if it's just 27 Chinese workers in a very racist society.
Yeah.
Fucking it's still 27 people a person a day.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, that fucking blew my mind. So they go. So the police leave, and then a Chinese lady goes up to Charlie, and she's got her face all wrapped up, and she's like, "Please, we need your help. Please follow me," or whatever. Mm-hmm. And they go to this Chinese doctor's office, who is like, everything's just so. He's like speaking in Chinese gibberish. And by gibberish, he's English, but like nonsense. Yeah. So at one point he says like, "You're in my house, Mr. Andrews. Everything here is secret and well known." That doesn't mean anything. Yeah. That's just Chinese mythy bullshit. Yeah. You're trying to make this man magical for some reason in a way that just doesn't make any fucking sense. But they tell him, we need your help, whatever. And he goes, "Well, I can't help, but I think I know someone who can." And they go to fucking Q.E.D., who is a dickhead as usual.
Yeah.
Immediately,
he's like, everybody's dead? Well, you need a pathologist.
Can't help you. Sorry. And they're like, well, he basically kind of agrees to help, and he's like, "I need to examine a body or something." And he's like, "Oh, I'll be fine. No problem." There's just another body the next fucking day. 28. There's immediately another body.
Also, they know where it is.
Yeah.
That was weird.
That was super weird.
They just walk up on it and underneath a dock.
And the area of town is called Limehouse. They keep referring to it as Limehouse all the time. And he just says, "There's nothing that happens in Limehouse that I don't know." How? You're a doctor. And it turns out, no, you're not.
Yeah.
We find out in a little bit. He's working. So
he's just a toady.
So they go like... It's so glib about these. It just drives me nuts how glib they are about these 27 dead people. But also the other thing, they go. So he shows up to talk to Q.E.D. to try to get help, and he's like, "These men are all of the same age. They all work in the same area. The docks are these tea warehouses. They all smoke opium, which is a very common vice in our area." And Q.E.D.'s like, "Opium doesn't kill." He's it's spoken like an opium addict who's very defensive.
And they're all from Shanghai.
Yes. They're all jumping ship in Shanghai on the boat dock or whatever, right? So he investigates, but the police show up right away, so he doesn't have time, and he's like, "Do you know where they
look another one.
Do you know where they live? Do you know which place they work at? I need to get some sort of evidence if I'm going to find anything." Their clothes they were wearing. And Phipps is like, "Oh, I think I can help."
They go to a store where they have just all the dead guys' clothes.
And he's
like, "These new ones came in this morning."
Yeah. But
and
here's
like, what do the cops sell the clothes?
Here's why I find this very weird. You go into the shop, there's a bunch of white people.
It's like a fancy dress shop.
Relatively fancy, right?
Hat shop.
And well, I think it's supposed to be like kind of middle.
Yeah.
Because like there's like a heavyset older lady that's talking to the proprietor.
"You look like a real lady." She goes, "I'm a lady all the time."
Right. So I think she's like not
stupid line.
I think she's not quite fancy, but she's trying to give that air, right? But it's still like a nice place. Yeah. And also a place where you buy like fancy hats and whatever. She does say something about like, "I hope you put flea powder on these hats."
Yeah.
But like, It's like, so that's like a place where like people might bring their dead relatives' clothes to sell, like a thrift store, consignment or whatever, right? Not a place where they fish dead homeless Chinese men out of the river and sell their clothes.
Coats.
That's insane.
Yeah.
You saw that he's just wearing rags. These people don't want that. It was such a wild choice.
But they had overcoats. They'd sold all their overcoats.
Yeah.
But who sells them? The cops?
I guess the cops or the medical examiner or something. Because that's the other thing. They say that all these people go to the medical examiner. They don't find anything wrong with them. And they say it's heart failure is the cause of death, right?
Yeah.
But there's no whatever. So he gets the clothes. He brings it to Q.E.D., who finds just like
straight up heroin.
He finds heroin. I didn't realize it was heroin until they say it, because he says it's diacylate morphine or whatever, which is like the medical term for heroin. But he finds it in like a large chunk. It's not like a couple of powders.
It looks like fish scales.
Yeah.
When he was first picking out the pieces with the tweezers, I thought he was picking out like fish scales, and I thought he was gonna like pull a fish out of the sleeve.
It's very large,
and probably just go like ugh and toss it. I was like, are they gonna do a joke like that now?
I would have been fine.
But because it would have worked.
It's something, yeah.
But no, it was like giant clumps of heroin
that were just like underneath their like lapels.
Yeah,
because you know how willy-nilly fucking heroin addicts are.
Yeah.
They just let those large I must have misplaced that heroin. Like, it's so fucking dumb. So they find this drug and like, we have to do something because like
and Q.E.D. just looks at it without chemical analysis.
He just kind of looks at it. Doesn't
he just looks
under
at
a
it.
microscope. He just kind of looks at it.
Looks at it with a fucking magnifying glass. And also he holds it up to his eye and not up to the object.
Very bad. That's very bad mind.
I was like, what? Sam, that's not how magnifying glasses work.
That made me laugh very hard. I saw that too. So he finds the heroin and he's telling them, look, this is diacylate fucking morphine, which is like super potent version of opium, like whereas opium doesn't kill, synthetic opium
made out of that.
Right. Yeah. But he's like, but an opium user gets this, it would be instant death.
Yeah.
But then he also...
It's like a fentanyl crisis.
Pretty much. Yeah, that's pretty much what it is, except he can just put his fucking hand in it, which he does later in the episode. He just picks up a fistful of heroin later on in the episode.
Which you can't really do.
For sure, that's not good. Particularly with your wet-ass hands. You've been drinking all night.
Yeah.
So, but then he tells the doctor, he's like, but I also I think you're not actually a doctor, because he used some medical term that actually just means a sore toe, but the guy didn't know it.
Sore toe? There's a medical Latin term for a sore toe?
Well, in the sense that I'm sure there is a way to say sore toe in Latin, but I don't think it's something that's in the medical books. And he goes, and you've got this is a doctor's office with no waiting bench for passengers or an examination table.
Yeah.
You don't even have a stethoscope. It's going to be hard to believe. And then they go, well, we'll tell you the truth, but tomorrow, whatever. And they're going to meet him at the house. They show up late, but they show up with a guy from the British Secret Service.
And a CIA guy.
But here's what's wild. He doesn't even say. The British guy he goes, what authority do you have or whatever? And he goes, well, I'm under the authority of the British Secret Service. He pulls out a badge. And the American guy goes, and I have the authority of the United States of America. But what do you work for? I don't know what that means.
Also, he's wearing like a crazy wig. It's the
wild.
Worst wig.
It's so high. It's resting so high on his hair.
It's like George's wig.
It's wild.
I've been watching those episodes of Seinfeld when George gets the rug, and it looks just like it. Just that hairline that's like just so thick.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
So they show up and they tell that the Chinese guy and what he said was his daughter Priscilla are working for us. We know there's this new drug. It's actually showing up in New York and other places in Europe. So we were investigating it. But, and they're like, okay, well, what are you going to do with the 30 fucking dead people? And they're like, nothing. Forget about it. See? They're like, this is a secret. This is, they go, what about these 27 men? And he goes, 27 tiny pawns in a much bigger game.
And then Q.E.D. goes, game?
Yeah, he's so mad. Also, his response to being mad, like to being upset at these people for not doing, so he throws them out essentially in like a polite way.
Yeah.
Like, please show these people to the door.
Yeah. He locks himself in his room.
And just starts smashing things. It's
Yeah,
wild.
it looks like he just gets really fucked up and starts breaking glass.
Yeah, you hear the glass breaking on the other side, and then Phipps is like, oh, when he gets
You
like
never know
this,
what he'll break when he gets like this.
And he's a real dickhead about it. So they go in a room, and Phipps is like trying to sweep up the glass.
And he's like slumped over in a chair with just glass underneath his feet.
And he says, he's talking about why are humans so pathetic or whatever. He says 10,000 million brain cells. You think they could use a few of them. By the way, that's 10. I broke up my calculators. 10 billion.
Yeah.
You could have said 10 billion. 10,000 million is just a wild way to say that.
Well, I don't know if they used billion back then.
I don't know that this shows that.
They probably
for historical accuracy. But then I'm mad at him because
they definitely did, because they were like the Rockefellers and the Vanderbilts and all those people. They were billionaires.
I would assume. So they're smashing. He's smashing stuff. Phipps is sweeping it up. As Phipps is sweeping it up, Q.E.D. picks up a plate, looks Phipps in the eyes, and just smashes a plate at his feet. I was like, that's the rudest shit I've ever fucking seen in my life.
Just one more, Phipps.
So basically they decide, well, if these people aren't going to do anything, then we need to. Priscilla comes back and is like, look, you have to help us. No one's doing anything, but these are our countrymen. These are our people. We have to stop this fucking epidemic, right?
Yeah. Priscilla's the doctor's assistant.
Turns out that he's a teacher at the local, and she's a student, right? So she gets Charlie to go into this opium den and try to look around because the teacher has gone to the opium den.
Charlie straight up smokes opium.
And has no effects. He doesn't like. He gets a little
dizzy and then blurred vision.
Right, but then he's like fine. I guess maybe that's what opium does. I don't know. I haven't had an opium hookup.
Yeah.
So he follows him into the thing, and they tell him, "Look, you're gonna bet. He's gonna bow, then you're gonna bow, and you're gonna give him a half a crown, and he'll give you your pipe or whatever." Mm-hmm. But as he's going in there, he's looking around. He sees Jake. The doctor, the teacher or whatever, go into a room, follows him in the room. He's been killed, knife in the back.
Yeah.
Priscilla does not seem that broken up about that, by the way. Nobody really does. I guess since there's 30 fucking dead people already, one more really doesn't make sense. But he does see a white, because everything's been Chinese people, but then a white guy's in there who might as well have villain written on his forehead. He's just got a bunch of scars on his face. He's just a very clearly evil person. So clearly he's involved somehow. And then this is actually the one gimmick in this episode I liked. They go back and he's like, oh, how, he's like, would you recognize him if you saw him again or whatever? So Q.E.D. grabs this book off the bookshelf that's got a bunch of
criminal descriptions.
But it's got a bunch of faces in it.
Yeah.
And he basically makes a composite sketch. He cuts all these pieces of the eyeballs and noses and lips or whatever, and then does you would on a computer nowadays. Oh no, it's a bigger nose. He puts a bigger nose, different eyes or whatever, and then goes, oh, Phipps is like, I know that guy. That's Bulldog, whatever the fuck, who used to be a fighter and now he's a bad.
Yeah.
So they have to. So they figure out
they send Phipps to the dead people clothes store
to find out where he's working.
Yeah,
because he's like, hey, is Bulldog still in jail or whatever? He's like, oh no, he's got a job down at the tea house or whatever. So they realize that this place is selling the heroin, this opium den, and this dude has a connection to this warehouse, so there's probably some connection there.
They work the tea warehouse during the day and then a pub at night.
So they end up going to this
underneath
pub.
the pub is a boxing ring and gambling.
Right. And they have to pretend to be into the gambling and the boxing.
They have to be Americans looking for fun.
And I actually kind of enjoyed
that little scene.
Little scene, because when they first show up, they're like, oh, we've got to be Americans. So they just kick in the door and Sam Waterston's like, all right, who's got the money? Let's gamble, baby! He's just yelling and waving his arms around.
777, yeah!
Yeah, he's just screaming.
They're just pretending to be drunk.
Drunk asshole Americans. But I also the guy who runs the gambling, because they think they're big fish or whatever, which they kind of are. They're spending a lot of money.
Yeah.
The guy's like, okay, free bottle of champagne for these guys. And Jenny just gets fucking drunk, which I enjoyed. You drink that free champagne. You're not a fucking cop. So Bulldog, whoever, is having a boxing match. It's also kind of fixed.
Yeah.
But for gambling purposes. And then Charlie's like, I can take him.
Yeah, because he says he's going to take him to make a distraction because they notice the door that can probably lead to the
where the warehouse, the connection or whatever. And Jenny's like, no, you can't let him do that. And Q.E.D's like, oh, he's middleweight champion at Harvard. He'll be fine. So was that a lie? Because he did not know how to box at all. He could take a punch.
He does in like the first little bit of the fight, and then that guy just like starts beating the fuck out of him.
Yeah, he doesn't get. Yeah, so like, what I mean to say is, wouldn't it have been more fun for him to be pretending not to know how to fight, but actually know how to fight and kind of display that?
Yeah.
So you've got these. So like. The guy tells the guy in charge of the gambling tells Bulldog like, "Hey, keep him up for 2 minutes and then put him down." And he tells Charlie 5 minutes. I got 5-1 odds. You won't last 3 minutes or whatever. Yeah. Right. So he's like, it would have been more fun for both of them to be trying to con each other, and maybe Charlie has this skill at boxing because you're saying he has. So like. It's just so much easier, like more interesting to do that and perfectly easy to do that and still achieve the things you want.
Yeah.
As opposed to just
still the distraction instead of him
making
just
him a guy getting his shit kicked out of him for no reason at all. But they find a secret tunnel, which finds they couldn't. What they've been trying to say, knew where it was being sold, they knew where it was being held, but they didn't know where it was being made.
Yeah.
And they find the secret tunnel and they find where it's being made, and it's just literally just a giant table covered in heroin.
Yeah.
And fucking Q.E.D. just walks up and picks up a handful of it. And he's like, "Oh, heroin!" He's like letting it sift through his fingers. It's fucking wild.
And like a really shitty chemistry set.
And some boxes were like, oh, this shipment's going to New York. It's got a false bottom, and they're putting heroin in it. So they found the whatever. And the bad guys, of course, catch them before they can leave. Mm-hmm. They're going to dump them in the water. He distracts them by telling the main guy that Bulldog has been selling the heroin without him knowing to these Chinese people and killing everybody, which distracts him long enough for Phipps to show up and save the day. He knocks some boxes over on him, and then he beats up fucking the boxing guy, and they saves the day, which is great. But then, so there's a newspaper article, which I would have thought Charlie wrote.
Yeah.
But he seems mad about the article.
Yeah,
because he's like, I got scooped by the cops or whatever.
Yeah, the CIA people and everyone told him like that it doesn't exist. You can't publish this story. I think maybe like once the case was cracked, they like.
Well, yeah, you can publish it, but then whose article is it?
Yeah.
Like, who wrote the article?
Yeah.
Like, why isn't it Charlie? Like, I got the big expose or whatever. He's mad that the article's out there. He's like, I can't believe I got scooped by the cops. But the cops didn't write that article.
Yeah.
Like, doesn't make sense.
Maybe they just gave a statement or something. But who wrote it?
To who?
Yeah.
Like, why not Charlie?
Yeah, that is weird.
And
just more bad writing.
They put a stake on his eye. Phipps shows up and says, somebody ordered a steak, and they put it on his black eye. And
I've always wanted to do that.
Yeah, I as a kid thought it was more than just cold.
Yeah.
Like I know now it's just, it's cold and it molds to your face. I thought it was like
there's the healing properties.
Properties in the meat. I really
meat.
did think that as a kid. Because it would be in like cartoons and shit. And I was like, there's got to be something with the juices. So stupid. So he puts the steak on him and then he says, Q.E.D. says something, and Phipps is like, "It's your generosity. That man's wearing your supper." And that's the end of Q.E.D.
That's the end of it.
Of the whole fucking run of this goddamn show. I would say that I think there's a premise here that could have worked.
Yeah.
I like the sort of time period. They took so like. Sherlock Holmes has some of the same Q.E.D. qualities of being arrogant, kind of being a dickhead, not having great social skills, right? But they took only that from him and like amped it up, and that's Q.E.D.'s whole character.
Yeah.
Whereas that works with Sherlock in juxtaposition to how he does care about Watson, and he does have these other things. With Q.E.D., he's just a dick.
Yeah.
And it's just so unlikable.
Yeah.
Would you recommend anybody watch this show? Do you skim through it? Do you get high and watch one episode? Is there anything worthwhile? If you're not following with the podcast and listening, would you go, hey, watch the show or not? No. I hear you.
Yeah, I mean, like, people aren't like me, like I don't know. I watched like all, like, it also reminds me of like Poirot,
Sure.
And, I've watched that entire series, even like the longer like film, like not the ones that came out in theaters, but like the BBC like Poirot with Dave Suchet.
Sure, I couldn't think of his name. Yeah,
David Suchet, not any other Poirot. Every other Poirot can fuck off. David Suchet is no Poirot.
Oh, who plays it in the there's a Murder on the Orient Express recent remake.
I don't remember who.
I want to say it's like fucking. Kenneth Branagh, I think.
Oh, maybe.
No, thank you.
Yeah, I didn't go see that.
Yeah.
But like, if you like campy, awful stuff, like this is, smoke a joint and kind of watch it. It's good in the background.
I would say background at most.
Yeah,
like,
background at most. But this is not worth investing time in.
And it's also not bad in the fun way.
Yeah.
That a lot of things we do on this podcast are bad, but like, oh, this is so absurd. I kind of enjoy this.
Yeah, this isn't Matthew
have fun
Starr.
making fun of it. Yeah. Or like you could get high with friends and like crack jokes.
Yeah.
That doesn't. It's just incompetent in a way. That's just not fun.
Yeah, and you kind of just get upset with the writing and inconsistencies and stuff instead of being like, oh, that's so bad, it's great. Yeah. You're like, why the fuck didn't you?
Yeah.
Why didn't you follow up with this?
So this will be out tomorrow. You got anything you want to plug?
March 21st is going to be, I'm doing another day party, at Butterfly Bar for South by. Me and my friend Andy Biancoli, he's producing all the music. I'm producing all the comedy.
Nice.
It's going to be awesome and fun all day long. Donations at the door, but it's free to the public. Patrizi's will be open March 25th. Nice. March 21st, all day long.
Awesome. Do that for sure.
Yeah, come on out. Last year we called it South by Schmouth by, which is a play on Nielsen Schmielsen by Harry Nielsen. And this year we're calling it South by Schmouth by Son of Schmouth. We're just gonna put that on the poster.
Gotcha.
And that's a joke for 10 people.
The best kind of jokes.
Yeah.
This is out Thursday, so Sunday I'm doing a Choose Your Own Master Pancake at the Ritz at 3:30. That'll be fun. I am hosting the Austin Music Awards March 11th at the Moody Theater. Tickets are $30, but like that gets you on the floor at the Moody Theater, and there's like 10 awesome bands, and it's like a fucking fun ass party. So go, get your tickets now. I'm
also at the Velveeta Room the 28th and 29th with Doug Mellard.
Nice. That's going to be fun as hell. So for sure do that.
Dougie's the funniest.
Always. Check out his albums, Fart Safari, Fart Safari 2, Fart Harder, I think. There's a lot of them. So yeah, there's that. I got other shows coming up, so check an eye on that. For one, this show is produced at Permanent Record Studios in Austin by producer Mike Moody. Come here for all your podcasting needs because it's fucking dope. I recommend a good show. I need something actually good to watch. I can't watch like another terrible thing in a row. So tweet me if you have a one-season show that you actually like and is like an enjoyable, fun, good watch. Otherwise, rate, review, subscribe. Please go to iTunes, leave a little review. It helps us so much. And we will see you next week.
Bye.